down here, I've plumbed in the signal wire for the brake controller.
Yep.
And you've got an Anderson plug here behind that cover. Cigarette lighter plug on the back here is now rigged into the...
This one here?
Yep, into the lithium battery.
Yep.
So you'd be able to plug that in so you'll never run your car battery flat running the angle.
Right, so that'll be plugged into it.
Yep.
And the
Starlink
is already hardwired into it.
Yep.
So this is our battery.
Yep.
This is our charge controller.
No.
No?
The charge controller is the red unit down there. No.
No.
Just there.
This one here, right, okay. Good.
And then you've got a fuse in there.
Yep.
So the whole line is fused.
Yep.
And then that's your power into your Starlink dish itself.
Yep.
And that goes through this.
Yeah.
And then the Van Connect unit down here is your router, effectively. Yes. And the cable runs up to the Starlink on the top there.
So this is our modem, effectively.
Yep.
Right. And the signal from that
goes around 100 meters.
Right. Brilliant.
All right. All right. G'day. So I'm going to be loading all of this stuff into Mum and Dad's Ford Ranger because they're going on a bit of a holiday, and I want to make sure that they've got great communications and plenty of battery to keep their beer cold. So I'm going to go through a bit of what we're going to be installing today and where I've gotten it all from. So we'll start as you read the book. I've got a TowPro Elite and the Ford Ranger wiring kit, and I got that from Perth Auto Electrics. That arrived today. I got two big red 3-inch roll bar clamps to go on the headboard so I can bolt the Starlink unit onto that and then use the magnets on the roof. I've got a Voltex lithium battery, which is 5 mils too big for the off-road down under behind the seat Ford Ranger mounting unit. So there may be a little bit of modification. I've also got the off-road down under charger mount, which I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to make the kick-ass 12 volt power DC charger fit onto there nicely. And I got the kick-ass wiring harness for that charge controller. I also grabbed a 12 volt extension from the battery to be able to link that up to the back so they can hook it up to the camper van and provide power to the lithium batteries in the back through their DC charger. And I'm going to be throwing the Trackify Starlink unit onto their car because the other unit is bolted to Jasmine's. Now, you've seen me do some hack jobs with a little bit of wiring and electricity. So today I'm using pre-rigged equipment. And on top of all of that is the Cowfish Starlink integration kit. Now, this is going to be a nice simple follow along for anyone who wants to put a Starlink kit into their light vehicle, their truck, anything, into their van. And it's thank you very much to Cowfish for sending this unit. And thanks to Adam for the conversation he had when he was at the caravan show down in Melbourne that he had with the manufacturer of this unit. And Adam is A&M Colour Corrections and Signage, where you will find these hats for sale, as well as our new sticker packs. And every now and then we do shirts and other stuff. So if you want some Jack Out the Back merch, jump onto A&M Colour Corrections and Signage and check it out. All right, so thanks Adam for getting us the ball moving on this. And I know that it was because you wanted a video on how to do it, but you've already done it. Now I'm going to show everyone how we're going to throw it into the Ford Ranger. Now I've got a new hat here from Off-Road Down Under, but I don't know, it doesn't feel right. It's just not quite the same fit. Let's get into it, see what we got. All right, so we've got the Van Connect kit, which I'll open up in just a moment. To run you through my loose plan and what I'm intending to do with these, I'm going to be getting the Trackify unit, and I'm going to undo these mounts here, these magnetic mounts, and I'm going to set these up to be bolted onto there. So then that will go onto the roll bar mount on the car, or sports bar, and I will change these over to rubberized magnets so that it won't scratch the roof. This is in an effort to help make it a little bit more anti-theft, so that no one helps themselves to mum and dad's Starlink while they are travelling. Now, the point of having the entire secondary battery system is so that if they're pulled up somewhere for a day or more, they can be running their Starlink, have constant communications, keep the angle running, and not worry about drawing down their primary battery. So we aren't running an inverter to power our Starlink. We're going to be using the Cowfish technology kit to get our Starlink going in the car, and we'll set it up on a relay or switch. So let's go to the integration kit. And we have got, this would appear to be the PoE injector, Van Connect and Starlink. Right, so yep, this is the PO, power over Ethernet injector, and this is your on and off switch for the unit. So that could be handy, and we'll just connect it into 12 volts. Now, it would be nice if there was like a little plug-in to run a relay, so you could have this as a remote switched unit. That'd be pretty neat. And it is a dual voltage, so you could go 12 or 24 volts, so run it straight off your truck power system. So, PoE injector has a one-time use screwdriver with it. All right, we've got a little Cat6A, and it's a gold-plated Ethernet cable. We've got a 1 metre long one and a 400mm one, and we've got our RJ45 to Starlink plug. So we can use the standard Starlink cable here to do this. Cool, so we'll go from here to the Cowfish to our Trackify. Now the next part is the 12 volt Wi-Fi system. Right, we've got the manual online, and there's our Cowfish. Let's have a look at this switch that we have here. Okay, so we've got a couple of DIN mounts. We've got 2 antennas for each band, and we've got 1 WAN, an SD card, USB, so you could always set it up with a failover. We'll have a look at this router's software when we go. And we've got a reset button, WAN in, and you can also run cable Ethernet off it. So if you had this in your van, you could run it Ethernet to your TV if you wanted to, if your TV didn't have Wi-Fi. Stack of Wi-Fi antennas, and there's our little DIN mount, so we can screw it onto something. We've got a little DC plug to a cigarette lighter. Now, that would be saying to me that that'll boot this, but not that. But I've got other DC plugs, so I can always plug into one of mine and we don't have to use this 12 volt power adapter. And then we've just got another Ethernet cable. So we're good. Let's have a look. I guess the different lengths are going to be for how far away we want to mount these 2 units. We're going to use it as is and show you how much easier it is than doing some of Jack's mods. Right, so that is our Van Connect and Wi-Fi. Let's look at where we're going to fit this into the car and how we're going to mount this up nice and neatly. Okay, so we've got the off-road down under behind the seat mount kit. I was having a look through the manual and I am glad I'm in my workshop because there's a couple of tools that you will need that not everyone is going to have on hand to install this to your car. So let's get into where we're going to start putting some of these things. One of the things that I'll be doing with this is we've got a couple of pre-drilled holes up here and they are set for putting in racks of like fuses and MIDI fuses. But what I'm going to be setting everything else running off is this, which is a smart battery protect, so a shunt, so a switch effectively from Victron. It's Bluetooth and it's rated for 65 amps. Now, Mum and Dad aren't likely to be drawing that much, so we are pretty well sorted. This is going to get mounted up somewhere close enough to our battery outlets, and then I'll be running the other loads off that. Now, we're going to be doing a little bit of modification with some wires to be able to access our bus bar, our positive and neutrals out of this, but in the area on top of here, and we're going to have to do a little bit of work on that because this little battery is about 5 mils too big. So I might A, bend it, B, cut it. But the main reason why I have a battery that isn't the perfect size for this is it was going to be another $500 to get a battery which fits this bracket. And I'm just not a fan of paying $500 to lose 5 mils. I'm not that keen on weight loss. So this unit is going to be going into here, and that means we've got to work out where we've got the space, once we've modified this and got it down, to put our PoE injector, which needs our 12 volts, somewhere, our Cowfish, and then our Van Connect router. I need power and my WAN. It might not all fit nicely there. Yep,
all good, all good. It's taken the flutter out of the stick.
all of the flutter.
You know how it would vibrate, like it was vibrating backwards and forwards a little bit?
Yeah.
It's taken all of that out.
So do you reckon we need to do that on the other one?
Well, I'll take it for a whirl and see if it's doing it. But it's now as nice as the other one was.
Yeah, so we might just preemptively take those rivets out, put the glue in, whack the rivets back in.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cool.
But I'll let you know. But I just sort of let you know. It was just, when you go, oh, I thought there was something wrong, and yes, there was, and we've solved it. So it's great.
Yeah. Awesome. We've succeeded.
I'm working on this thing now. I'll send you a message when I'm leaving. Or you can see when I leave anyway.
Yeah, then I'll have a look. You didn't show up as a vehicle.
Didn't I?
No.
Oh, I might have been going fast enough.
No, hang on, I'll bring it up.
You should do. I'll try flying past it on the way up.
Yeah, no, it hasn't got you as a vehicle. It's only picked you up as a person.
Oh, okay, now we know how to go. Just got to go stealth.
Yeah, yep, no, and I can see you've hidden behind the tank.
Yep, I'm turning the tap off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not hiding, boss.
Yeah. Good. All right.
Okay.
Cheers.
See you, my dad.
See ya. So alternatively, we could always put over that side. What have we got in the manual here about that bracket? What are you all about? Well, it means the battery can run all the way to that edge. So there's no reason why we can't shove this all the way over this way and have our Starlink operating out of that side. So we're going to have to do a little bit of mod work on that frame, but before we get too carried away on that, let's see if the bracket for the DC-DC charger is going to be the right size. Right, DC-DC charging. This is our little off-road down under bracket, and let's see what our kick-ass bracket. The sneaky bastards. Surely that's not how it's designed. I might have to be knocking some pins out here. But that's all good. We will sort that part there out. As long as that's going to fit just fine. So this unit's cheaper than a Red Arc and it's just as capable by all means. But one of the things I liked about it was the fact that the kick-ass unit has this triple plug, which goes to the ignition wire. Now, the advantage of that is in the Ford Ranger, behind the passenger panel where you pop the hood, it's pop the bonnet, it's got a ignition signal wire. So this will run all the way to the front to the battery terminal leads, and then just click onto one of the ignition system units. That makes our lives easier. Now, this is our our main output. Now, the Voltex battery, which is the one that we're going to be using, has a blue connector. So I've got a grey to blue connector to plug into that. And then we've got a solar input. Now, we've got a solar blanket to test out, and it's from a different power pack. But we will set our solar somewhere so that Dad can test it out while he's on his way. Oh, well, the other thing, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, is our TowPro Elite V3. So this is a tiny little unit which taps into your brake signal wire and will give you assistance on your brakes. So this little unit taps into your brake lines and will assist electric brakes on the trailer. So the Ford Everest and the new Ford Ranger both have assisted electronic braking, so AEB, which means that you need to get the special Ford harness. Now, the Ford harness isn't that bad because it makes everything nice and plug and play. Hello. And yeah, it also has a firewall line that you can just pull straight through. So we're going to see how we go with our firewalls. Now, Mum and Dad have got a UHF radio in their car. So it'll be interesting to see what wiring joys that installation was, because I was not the one that installed that, so I don't know what sort of a can of worms I'm going to be digging into. All right, we're going to do a bit of a dry fit of the unit in here to see if the wider battery is going to cause any sort of issues. So then I can modify it to suit our needs. One of the things you've got to do is take out your jack, and it's going to get relocated to underneath the rear passenger seat. Right, we're going to take the kid seat holder out. We've got a trim clip down the bottom here. So usually I'd use a screwdriver. That's that out. Now it looks like just these two get removed. Yeah, okay, and there's a little plastic bracket behind that. Now, there's meant to be a cross bracket somewhere. It looks like it's low. Ah, down here. Alright, so there's a cross bracket down there that is where the trim clip went. So where that trim clip went is where you want to pull out there we go. Right, let's get you somewhere you can see. Okay, so there's our always present red dust. And this bracket here, on this side here, that we've had to pull that out. And now they want us to drill that out with a 9mm drill bit. They say don't use a brand new drill bit. They want it a little bit worn because they don't want you to grip it and slip all the way through. So we will just give him a gentle drill out. You know, this is looking like it'd be easier with that rear seat removed. Altogether. How hard's that going to be? Only a small amount of swearing and 2 hex bits out. But I'm going to pull this back seat out. Alright, so it's going to be even more of a pain in the ass to take it all the way out. But now I've got enough room to be able to get my drill in. Now, this is where one of the tools that wasn't, it's in the list, but you know, if you just didn't read the instructions before you ordered it, you would need to make sure that you get yourself a riv nut insertion tool. One of these. Right, what does the instructions say in terms of what size it is? M6. Grab our M6. Now, just for demonstration purposes, there's this little socket. You slide that down and screw in your M6 insertion tool, and then until it is locked on by that. Right, let's go whack him in. So it's just like a normal rivet, but it's threaded. Now, things you want to do is make sure you don't do this too tight, otherwise you'll pull the threaded part through and you'll need to put a new one in. And then you just unscrew, and you have now just threaded a normal hole. The second tool is a M6 by 1.0 thread. So we are going to be putting this in to the spots where a couple spots here down on the floor. So let's get to it.
Got the little 5-inch from it now.
Thank you. I think I'm done for the moment.
Would you like a beer?
Yeah, I would.
I think I can offer you
I've got sharks in mine and the horses.
the horses.
The stay a little longer.
Oh, right. So are you suggesting I go and order it?
Well, that way you've got that option.
Well, I can give you a 4-inch.
Go to my house.
Is it outside on the brander?
No, you'll have to go into that's the brass monkey. All right, so I've threaded these 4, and this is where your subwoofer would be if you had a higher range model vehicle, just because drum and bass is the way to go. So let's get this over here and see how we look. These down the bottom are fine. That makes sense there. I'd need a big spacer in the back. But there'll be enough room to put my bigger battery in. Gets bolted onto there. So I'd probably go for bolting to there and then bringing it in. All right, that's good. So there's going to be no issue at all having that battery slightly wider. So let's mod that and rig the plate up and get it bolted in. So while I've done a little bit of modification, but I've pulled one of these pins out to be able to fit it through the mounting bracket. And I realised not everyone knows how to pull through an Anderson plug out, like de-pin it. So on the end here, you'll see that there is a little spring down there, and that's for locking them in. You want to get that back, get this tab, so this tab back, because you can see a little hook there, and that's how that locks onto that spring. So you put a little bit of tension on the back there and drop that down to pull it off that lock. And you can push just at the back at the same time. It's a little bit of jiggling, but you will eventually pull it through. Now we're clear. Come through to our bracket, and everything else can fit through. We'll get to bolting that up, but time to put my pins back through and where they belong. You good?
Yeah.
Did you only bring one beer over?
Yeah, I forgot. I tossed you onto a 4XC. So
Yeah, I'll
yeah. I'm just going to move that out of the back. So it's
it's yeah, where I can put an airline on.
out of your way.
Yep. Thank you. That is just a slight annoyance. Just not quite the right size. But we have a solution for that as well. More power tools. Alright, so the minor modification has been done. Now it's going to be a case of working out how well it's going to bolt in. No, they didn't. So if I've got the battery against the wall here, and I put this foam for anti-vibration, would it not make sense to put one on the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's, does it give you how far did, okay.
What?
Because you might find it's better to cut in two sections, so you got one bit at an end and one bit at another end. So where's, like cut in half. Yep.
Nice. Right, so
Okay, so they don't supply the rubbers only. They supply,
the whole.
yeah.
So
But
yeah,
the rubbers,
what's gone?
liner text is just
So the spots where bolts go through is 2 down here, 2 up here, 1 in the wall, 1 in the wall. So we've got everywhere else there to play with for our power and everything. It'll go like that. We've got little spots there for cable ties, etc. And then the Starlink cable will go in and then over to the other side of the ute and out the back.
so where is this bolt in there?
That's where the kid's seat, like you'd clip a kid's seat to.
Right, so so we've got to put that on top of that.
If we're going to keep the kid's seat ability. That works. Right. Oh, bring it up to here.
I'm just looking to see where.
Okay, so down that side there. Let's see, that's
bet it's that lot down there first.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right?
No. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This thing.
Oh, the ratchet's shit house. Just use the rattle gun. That ratchet's been abused.
One, you said one, this one.
Yep.
Three, four.
Yep. And then this one down here, but we've already done him pretty good, so.
Right.
Cool. Oh, and that's all that's for. Like it suits the trim.
Yep.
Right. Battery. So the keen-eyed viewer might know, or might notice that this is not the battery we started with. It's a different one, and it's because the Voltex battery has a different size connector, and it's not the color-coded correct connector. So we are going to the Gentrax one, which, well, it's on special at the moment in May, but when this is finished, it might not be. So it's the same capacity, same voltage, and it comes with mounting brackets on it. So we're going to whack a couple of screws in, which will keep it nice and tight. It kind of suits the color coding of the car though. You know, these are the things that matter.
Yep. Especially behind the seat.
Yeah. Good. Anti-theft protect. That's
good.
That's really good. Well, the next stage actually says to put in our what's it called? Put our seats back into place, but I kind of want them open while I run all the cabling.
Yeah.
So that might be a later on part of the job. But we've got plenty of room up here now because we don't come as high to put our units up here, and we should have enough room here to be happy that we're not going to crush like our router or anything. All right, so it continues. It's now Saturday. I didn't want to finish it off being a Friday job, you know, that you take shortcuts, but Dad and I had a couple of beers while we sat in the workshop and had a chat about the week gone by, and yeah, it was good. So now I've ripped out the trim in the side here on the passenger side, left-hand side of the car, and I'll show you what that gives us access to. And it shows really that the Ford Ranger and vehicles these days are getting made more and more for people to modify and tinker themselves. So here we are. All right, on this side here, we've pulled the panel out from there. And if we pull this trim back, all right, so trim tab taken out. We peel this up here. Now, on this side, being the passenger side, we've got a rubber gland there that we can push our cables through out to the back once you've put in your DC-DC charger and we'll run our Starlink line out there. We'll also be able to go out there and access our rear power port and run that one live off the lithium battery, so we don't worry about running the angle in the back. So that's number one, no drilling needed. You just fix it up yourself. Then as we come down the side here, we've got all the way along in the channel that takes your main loom all the way up. We've got enough room there to run our line back for our DC-DC charger. But it does get better and easier for us. Down here in the passenger footwell, you'll find that we've got labels. So there we go, run, start. And what else do we have? The engine bay harness, which is nice. Our high beam, so we can always trigger lights from that. What else do we have here? We've got an orange, and we've got speaker wires. What else have we got? Another high beam trigger, low beam. But effectively, it's really nice in here because we've got wires here that are run for us to be able to tap into to signal things like our DC-DC charger. So I'm going to take that cable tie out, easy to put him back on. Give ourselves some room. Got a ground wire here, but that's too light for everything we want to do. And let's rip this tape here open, because I reckon that's where we're going to find a tap for the UHF is. We'll pop over into the engine bay itself. So we've got a nice big gland wall there, and there's a secondary one that's already set up for our AEB, like our assisted braking unit. But on our battery itself, it's already got multiple terminals to run your leads off. So this is the one we're going to be using for our posi line. And then we've got our earth and then a bus bar for the earth. So that makes our lives a lot easier for wiring. We don't need to overload a terminal, but there are aftermarket brackets for the top here, which give you a whole stack of MIDI fuses. So a MIDI fuse holder for the top of the vehicle, like for the battery mount, which could have been handy here, but I don't think I'm going to need it because we've got so many terminals on the front here, so we're going to be pretty good. All right, I'm going to start to run some leads through, and then once I've got that sorted, I'll get on to the next part of the job, which is fitting and positioning all the other little bits and pieces. The cable is now run across behind the battery there, and it's coming along the back there, and it's going to go on the outside of where the seat bolts down. It'll go behind that trim. Follows along here nicely. I could probably have gone underneath and run flat on the outside of that line there. And probably having gone under there, I'd be flat along this edge, fit in there nicely, and would have been able to insert there and run over the top of this and remain on one side the whole way. Now, the other thing that I needed to do, like in terms of from the engine bay through, is the red arc controller. So the red arc brake controller has one positive line to run in from the front. And on that auto loom, under the seat here, on the passenger side, we've got a grommet, 40mm grommet, and this is the one that's included. So that's gone through, and that command wire is running alongside here. And come up, and this is where it is. The red arc will get mounted there. But what I did is I took the positive line, which is hiding here, and I've shoved it through the firewall, and now I've got the 50 amp wire here taped up to it to use it as a trace. And to make it go through just a little bit easier so I don't snap and tear everything as it goes through, I've got some silicone grease. I'm just going to put a couple of dobs of that on the tape in the line there. Right, so that came through ridiculously easily, and just that little bit of silicone grease. Now I've got all the leads that I need into the battery bay here, so I'm going to be able to connect my earth and really sort of get half started up in the engine bay. It's pretty simple. I've got this bolt here that is going to be going onto this earth bar, and my earth is going to come there. This will get pulled through a little bit further, but the positives are all going to go onto our posi here, just there. But I'm going to do that once we have everything sorted out down the back. Okay, so we are now run through with our cables, and I've got my just my main line. So this is for the trailer power, so direct off the battery. Run down past some other cables and then onto the chassis rail. Now with our main charge line, so main line to the DC-DC charger, I've got about a metre excess. So I'm going to check to see if I've got some terminal lugs, because I'll cut that down and set it up again, because it'd be nicer to have it on some shorter lines. But if we jump downstairs, my primary line runs along the chassis rail there. I've got a cable tied up, and it's going to run along to here, and just here, which is where the 40mm grommet comes in, I will bind these together and run them across the top of the extended fuel tank. Now, this line here is long enough to reach to our trailer plug. And so what I'm going to do is wrap these two together, run them across the top of that fuel tank, and then find where I can cable tie them up, and then work out if I need to shorten the Anderson line for the trailer power. But that should pretty much cover everything I need to do in terms of power in the front. It's just running them neat enough. That's the challenge. And looks like this one will be a little bit longer, but I've got plenty of Anderson leads. So that's nicely set up there. I'm going to climb under, bind some cables together, and keep ticking along. Now the Tow Pro. So I've got the Ford Ranger installation kit here, and I've got the manual, so it makes it really nice and easy. Instead of having to chop and hack everything, we have got our setup here. Now, it comes with a really nice mounting bracket. The glove box has been removed, and our Tow Pro is going to go in, I think, looks like that. Work out how that's going to fit and get it into place. But we've got a loom which will run over to our switch, so I've got to take some trim paneling out, and that's about it. All right, so the instructions on the wiring kit are for the older Ford Ranger, so same as my old one, but there isn't enough space up here because one of the concerns they say to be aware of is heat, and if you've got a heat sink, you're probably going to have heat. So where I did manage to mount it is down here. It is behind this wiring loom, so it'll be inside the trim. So that's going to be pretty well secured whilst in motion. It's bound up to the earth, and I trimmed the end off. Now this little signal converter just here, they say to attach it to the wiring. Well, I'm going to work out where I can stuff all this wiring up and get it nice and neat, but that's for when I do the trim, and I'll mount him up. So now I've got the cable which will go to the switch, and I've just got to work out where I'm going to mount up that switch, and that switch is just for how strong the brakes are going to come on, like it's your brake controller, and if you need to, you can hit your emergency stop. And I want to put it somewhere nice. In my Ranger, it is near the gear stick, but I could go for somewhere back here where you've got your four-wheel drive and you've got your descent control, etc. So somewhere there, for this little plug mount to go. Might not be a bad idea. So I've got some trim to remove, and I will run my cable up and see how far I can get to it, and then yeah, we'll mount that up, and that should be the brake controller done. And then we've just got to do the wiring at the front for the ignition control on the DC-DC and mount up our Cowfish. Let's get to it. Okay, so before I drill those holes, I wanted to make sure that I had enough length in my lead here once I had routed it through. So I've gone through, popped this little cover out, run along, and then I go under the air cleaner, aircon, round back in under alongside my lines here, and then loops up and goes into the red arc there. So that's that part done. And it's just a case of mounting the little the switch into place, which shouldn't be too hard. And then, yeah, it's the plugs at the back. But while I've got this all open here, I'm going to look at installing a little switch in there somewhere to command the Starlink. So Mum's got it nice and easy. When she wants, she just opens the glove box and she can turn the Starlink on from there instead of having to do anything in the back or on the Bluetooth. Onto the third shirt for this job. Or fourth, who knows. So I've done it at weekend pace, and now it's Monday. So I'll go through where we're up to. What we've got is I've used a Scotch lock here to plug my ignition override into the run start line. And you can see that the main line's running into the front there. So I've got to do all the tidy up with my cables, so a lot of cable tying, but here we have the fuse holder is attached to the battery holder, and then that one runs in onto the posi. Same with the direct line out to the back for the Anderson plug for the trailer. And I've got a big fuse here for the Anderson plug. So that's all up the front here and earthed up here. And let's move into the back. Okay, so we've got our Victron controller there that runs a fuse into these bars, and then this runs out to the back where I've got a cigarette lighter, and this one runs to a switch, which then will run the PoE injector for the Cowfish, and then we've got our Cowfish to our Starlink unit. And over here on this side we've got the Van Connect router is mounted up on some screws that were on the chassis here, so that's just nicely bolted in there. And I went through the little bung at the back there, so it went in nicely. And in the back here we've got the roll bar mounts, or sports bar mounts, and we've left the magnets there. And at the moment I've just got these magnet mounts there for the Trackify unit. So it will take a fair bit of wind to lift it up, but it can lift, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I'd like to have rubberized ones here that are a little bit better held on, but hopefully that's not going to move. I'm going to come up with a better solution for there. Yeah, so that's the Starlink up on the top. Haven't tested it out yet, but I've tested the unit, the Cowfish unit, and that's set up with a password and all those good things for Wi-Fi security. But I'm effectively up to cable tying everything and just doing the little wiring on the trailer plug for the brakes, because there's our trailer controller and it's down behind. No, it's not behind there. Put Dad's EpiPen back. The brake controller is mounted up behind this panel, so it's just tucked in behind all of these lines there. So I'll leave this cover off while I do a startup and check to see if the controller is doing anything. Ooh. But yeah, I'm just up to doing some cable tying, screwing into little plugs and calling it neat, and then taking it for a drive and testing everything out. Now the car's all rigged up, and I've done all the cables underneath and done that final bit of the trailer brakes. So I'm going to take it down to the airstrip now and sort of do some tests on the range and the Wi-Fi. So I'm going to reach into the glove box here. And that switch is the one for the Starlink. So that's turned on, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to go down to the airstrip so I'm away from any other Wi-Fi interference. So I can't even pick up the house Wi-Fi. And I'm going to also set up a solar panel and get this unit and the battery in the back charging. All right, so the battery is independent, so that means that you can have the car turned off and the Starlink will continue to run, and it won't run down the start battery. This is the All Powers solar panel. So it's a 400 watt, 37.5 volts. This came with a power box that I'm going to be doing a review on later, but this is a great time to test out the solar panel and the ability of the unit in there to charge. This is very awkward to get out into position. Now, these leads should be long enough. It would appear that the polarity on these is the wrong way around. That's not cool. Well, okay, it looks like that solar charging function doesn't work on this. And I even modified my cable to suit that. So that's a little disappointing. Let's try and fold this up without hurting myself. So I'm down at the airstrip, just so we're away from any other Wi-Fi, and I can do some range testing on the Cowfish unit that's behind the seat. Got the engine going, so it's topping up the lithium while we're out here and doing a couple of tests, and that's just to make sure the battery's nice and topped up. I've just flicked the unit on, and I'm just going to see if I can find the Wi-Fi here. All right, so it's just connected to the Wi-Fi, and we're on the 5 gigahertz. So it's literally, the Starlink is just booted up. It's taken about 3 or 4 minutes from turning the switch on to having it working. And it looks like Dad's landed up there. Right, so I'm just gonna crack open a speed test. Okay, so opening up the speed test, and it's saying that we are connected. We're on the 5 gigahertz out of the unit, so let's see how we're going. So the unit's only been on for 5 or 6 minutes now, and we've got over 200 meg per second down on this car. And we're getting around 6 or 7 meg as our upload speed. So it's pretty good. Now, it's behind the seat. We're going to go for a little walk. And I'm going to open up the app called Wi-Fi Man. So Wi-Fi Man's a ubiquity one for testing your strength. And this is showing us where we are. Apparently internet is unavailable, so it could be Starlink dropping in and out. Now she's identified what's going on. Cool. So we've got our pings and everything there, so 6 milliseconds back to there, and you know what we're looking at here for back to Google, Facebook, and X. So we're just going to walk away and see what our signal level does as we go. So going away from the front of the car, we've got better signal. All right, so kind of losing our Wi-Fi at around 30 meters. And we are just on the 5 gigahertz. So putting myself in the way blocks it a bit. kind of getting to the limit. Gotta remember this is 5 gigahertz, so it's not quite the same range. Now, I'm just gonna pop down here and I'm gonna drop back and just do a speed test. So around 90 meg per second and 4 meg per second up, and we're around not quite 100 meters away. Okay. So let's join the 2.4 gigahertz network. And we're actually at about the same signal level. So the 2.4 isn't really holding up. So let's go back to we're picking up the house apprentice Wi-Fi from here. Now, the homestead and the nearest wireless access point is at the other end of that taxiway, so we're about 400 meters away. Right, so the 5 gigahertz is connected fine, but the 2.4 doesn't want to play the game. So, yeah, we've got about 100 meters, which if you're traveling in a convoy could work. There we go, now we're connected. Right. Let's see what our speed does out this far on the 2.4. Horrendous. So bad that it can't even connect. Okay, so I'll just tell Mum and Dad to only join the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It seems that that's actually stable. But that's Mum and Dad's Power Ranger all sorted out now. At least it's got the DC-DC charge, not relying that much on the solar power, and it's got the brakes. So it's got the brakes for the trailer and an Anderson out the back to charge up the trailer's batteries. So here's our install. We've got a fuse down here, our charge controller's there, our 100 amp hour lithium battery there, our bus bars, our Cowfish PoE injector, our Cowfish converter adapter, and then we've got the Van Connect over there behind the passenger seat. And it closes without damaging anything. So some people have asked about us using the Starlink in motion and how it works and if we're on a different plan. We're on the roam plan. Now, I'm going to get my phone up, and we're on the airstrip, so private area. I'm going to go down the side of the taxiway. There's no aircraft coming in. So we will open up our speed test. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it up to 60k an hour, and then I'll hit the go button on the speed test. All right, so I'm over 50 now, 60k an hour. Right, so that speed test is going, and I'm now doing 80k an hour, 90. We're getting 220 meg per second pretty consistently there. I'm now doing 110, and I've got 20 meg per second upload. Yeah, got 8 meg per second upload, and I'm doing 110. Cool. Yes. Yep, no, and up to 110 k's an hour just then. And still working, yep. The only thing that, yeah, I saw your message. No, so the only thing that doesn't work is the solar charging. So, yeah, I'll be back up there in a minute, and I'll show you through the car and all its little features. Yeah, I'll have a cuppa. Yes, no, just got to remember that bolt for the bash plate. Yeah, that little rattle. Yep. Thank you. I'll see you in a minute. Right, so yes, it's working in motion and it's going pretty well. I didn't hear any rattle on the roof that I was worried about with those magnets. Nothing fell off the back of the car, and just like that, I got a phone call from Dad. So let's go up to, I'll pop into their place and I'll show Mum and Dad through the system. But the Starlink on this car is going to add a whole load of peace of mind for Mum and for, well, anyone else. But it means that whenever Mum's driving off the station or anywhere, in fact, she's got 100% connectivity. So just like Jasmine's got the Starlink on her car all the time, this car now has Starlink all the time, which is just great for safety. And now we've got 3 equipped or Starlink equipped vehicles, and that's Maud, the Work Triton. This one has the Cowfish in it, which seems to be more reliable than my little setup that I put in Maud, so I might be switching that one over. And Jasmine is still running the EcoFlow Delta as her power supply and 240 volts for the Starlink, but that also lets her run the angle off it. So that's going to be one of my next projects, is setting up a dual battery system in the Land Cruiser, or it's, tertiary battery system in the Land Cruiser, so that we don't have to worry about anything with that car, so that it's always got power, always got connectivity. And that'll be ready for our trip up to Darwin. Okay, time to show Mum and Dad their car. All right, well, since we're at the back,
Yep.
down here, I've plumbed in the signal wire for the brake controller,
Yep.
and you've got an Anderson plug here behind that cover.
For the
Trailer.
camper trailer. That's for the brakes.
No, that's not for the brakes. That's just for charging the batteries in the camper.
Right. Yes. Good.
The brakes are all through the plug.
Right.
Right, and the cigarette lighter plug on the back here is now rigged into the
This one here.
into the lithium battery.
Yep.
So to be able to plug that in, so you'll never run your car battery flat running the angle.
Right. So that'll be plugged into it.
Yep.
And the
Starlink.
Starlink is already hardwired into it.
Yep. So if we go into the cab.
Can I go to the other side?
Yep.
So here we got the. So this is our battery.
Yep.
This is our charge controller.
No.
No.
Charge control is the red unit down there. No.
No.
Just there.
This one here. Right. Okay.
And so the blue one is the load control.
Load.
So
okay.
when the battery drops below a certain voltage, it will shut the loads. So,
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And then you've got a fuse in there.
Yep.
So the whole line is fused.
Yep.
And then that's your power into your Starlink dish itself.
Yep.
And that goes through this.
Yeah.
And then the Van Connect unit down here is your router, effectively. And the cable runs up to the Starlink on the top there.
So this is our modem effectively.
Yep.
Right. And the signal from that.
Goes around 100 metres.
Right. Brilliant. Okay, so we're good there. And that closes all up nicely.
Yep.
Well done.
And
And the jack is still behind there?
no,
Jack
the jack's not behind there.
Jack is not underneath either.
No, because you've got straps there, so we've got to move them.
Right. So I've got to grab the jack and put it back in.
Yeah, but you put the jack under the seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was wondering.
Right, there's your trailer brake controller.
Yes.
So that determines your strength of it. The manual is in the glove box.
Yep.
Inside this mum, just here, that switch,
Yep.
green is on, that's your Starlink.
All right.
So that's all your internet and your comms is run through that. Now it doesn't matter if you leave it on, it's running off the other battery.
And that does 100 metres around, so if everybody else is parked within Kui,
Yep.
as long as they've got the, what are we called?
Yep. No.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll sort that out on your phone in a minute.
Yep.
And then
And do we have the thing on and off on the phone, or don't need to worry?
you don't need to worry about that.
Right.
The brake controller,
Yep.
if you're ever needing to know, it's in behind here.
Right.
So it's stashed in behind there.
Yep.
That's it, really.
Good.
And then in the front, that's the fuse for the charge controller, for the charger, for the
Yep.
lithium battery. And that fuse is not in at the moment, but that's the one to the Anderson plug out the back.
Right.
Yes, if you want to zip tie it up.
I think we should put a zip tie around.
Well, what I was going to do is you can get a bracket for over the top here,
Mhm.
and it would just be another one of these.
Right.
So then you'd have those set up along here. You just have one lead runs out, it goes onto it, and then you've got a bar, and then you.
Right. There's enough room between there and there, of course.
Yep. So that's the
That's it.
the Power Ranger ready to go.
No, it's very good. It's nice, neat, and it's all locked in there, so it's great. Okay, we just got to grab a bolt for the front. Do we know what size it is?
No, we'll
Should I whip it out?
whip the second one out.
Mm. Where is it over there? There's... Yeah, just near you is where one is.
Yeah, it's a captive. Is the captive on your side? Yeah.
Yep, captive there. I'm interested that. Yeah, no, that's the plastic screw.
It's interesting, this scoop, basically part of the bash plate. That's not going to do anything for sticks
No,
on your radiator. So it's like you need another.
mesh across the front.
Yeah. Right, so thanks for joining me as I fiddled around with that car and got it sorted. It's a lot neater and it's nicer and it's going to be more reliable for mum and dad's use. So it's no troubleshooting needed while they're out. So that Van Connect kit is pretty useful and makes it very simple for anyone who wants to have that Starlink comms wherever they are, whether it be in a caravan, truck, or in a car. I'd recommend checking one of those out and then getting a Starlink mount if you want to mount them up like that, and run that in a case like the Trackerfly one, or if you're in New Zealand, the Air Vision Systems. Plus any number of other Starlink mount units that are out there, but those are the ones that I've tested and trust. So thanks everyone, and if you want to check out the website at A&M Colour Corrections and Signage, you can pick yourself up a new orange jack out the back cap and stickers and all those other good things. So thanks everyone for joining us, and I'll see you around.